And we're here. Anyway, nice to have you all again with me. Welcome to another live stream. It is a muggy, kind of cloudy, although it's not that hot outside, but it just feels muggy today. Anyway, welcome everyone. Today we are going to be talking to Rudy Halimum, and he just sent me his latest rendition of the vacuum refill system for the CLI 42, CLI 9, CLI 65s as well. And I haven't put it to the test yet. He responded to some of my suggestions as I went through several refills. I actually attempted to do about maybe 15 or 20 cartridges with that. And some of them I actually messed up. It was totally my fault. But anyway, I made some suggestions. He actually went through 3 generation changes with the device. He sent it to me. I also have the stackable card holder. We'll open that up live and show it to you guys. But anyway, let's see. We got 25 folks already on here, which is awesome. We're going to be talking several subjects. I always come up with something to talk about. At the last minute, it seems. This morning I was looking at our YouTube comments, and there is a tab in there that basically is about blocked comments. In other words, there are some words or things that trigger the algorithm and they take your comment and move it over to the blocked section. In other words, I won't see it unless I actually click on that tab. So I did that this afternoon. Lo and behold, like 90% of the comments are fine, and I just approve them. Then there's a bunch of other ones like, linking me to some porno channel, that kind of thing. And of course, they get permanently blocked, but they have multiple accounts under multiple names that appear safe and normal, but really they are not. So got rid of those. And I went through some of these questions and I'm going to address some of them. We'll do that first, but not before I say hello to everyone here. And then after that, we're going to talk about another question that I got asked. Somebody wanted to, apparently, they have, I guess, enough business that they can crank out as many small prints as possible. And they want to get a printer that will be able to produce multiple 4x6s, 5x7s, 8x10s, letter size prints, but quick. And I'll tell you why that's not really possible with most available printers today, unless you just really want to give them mediocre quality. We'll talk about that. I'll give you the physical reasons why that's not really viable. All right. It has to do with the print heads. I got a call from someone who bought my adjustment program for the R2000. Now I have a bunch of those, but really, I don't really sell the rest of them. I acquire them, let's just say. And so the one that I know works and is proven is the R2001. And of course, you guys know that there are other ways to, say, reset a waste ink cartridge. Anyway, so this person was having trouble with his Windows 10 computer. And by the way, all of these so called hacks only work on Windows computers. Okay. They're not designed to work on Mac for whatever the reason. Whether it's inkchip.net, whether it is, what was it, Manuals 2, or any of the other, the WIC tool, any of these adjustment programs and other types of tools, the ones that charge you per reset, they only work on Windows. So he was having problems actually even opening the program. And I went through and I really don't know what he did wrong because I could do it and I have the latest up to date Windows computer, Windows 10. So I haven't, and I will not go to Windows 11, folks. They changed the user interface drastically, and I'm used to what I have now. In fact, I have my Windows 10 desktop as if it was Windows 2007, okay, or Windows 7. All right, the next thing we're going to talk about along that same subject line, R2000, okay, that replaced the 1900. It was really like the first Epson printer for consumers that used a gloss enhancer. And so we had all been complaining about the gloss differential caused by some of the colors, of course, when printing on glossy media or shiny media. So they came up with this gloss enhancer and added it to one of the channels. They had to do some juggling because they only had 8 channels to begin with. So they had to omit, I believe it was the light cyan. So anyway, they integrated that into the system, the 1900. I don't know whether the 1800 had that or the so-called R800 as well, which is a letter size version of it. But anyway, later on, after the 1900, the 2000, which is the one I have, the P400, and they began outputting these Sure color versions of these printers. And the P400 is really the last one in this generation of printers using gloss differential blocking type software, not software, but media, the gloss enhancer. So how do they stack up? I mean, are they good printers for your photos? Apparently, they are really, really good for color photos. But remember, there is no gray ink. So as far as maintaining or being able to get a very linearly neutral black and white from black all the way to white, usually what happens is that ramp is not linear. It will shift in hue sometimes, maybe a little bit warmer in the middle section of the so-called values. In other words, from black all the way to white, middle tones may turn out to be a little bit warmer or cooler, whatever. I've been able to minimize that by producing a custom profile. So we'll look at that. I got a couple of prints that I just created yesterday, only to prove to this guy that the resetting process using the adjustment program actually did work. And so he may be just simply doing something wrong. And there are some things you must, absolutely must do to get this to be not only identified by your system as a good guy, because all of these tools basically hack your printer system files. So they're not looked at as a friendly entity, they are looked at as bad. So you have to block all of your antiviral software before you proceed to open up any of these tools. Now, some of the latest ones have been able to make look like they're good guys, okay? And so they are not, not really flagged by today's current safety measures that Windows implements. Now, the next subject is going to be something funny that just happened to me. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, but it got me. Okay, it got me, and I thought I knew how to detect this. So we'll talk about that, and I'll show you what the results are. Then I'm going to put out the link for Rudy to come on. So I'm going to give him a chance, maybe midway through the live stream when enough people are here. We got 27 folks right now. A lot of you still don't realize that I started this at 1 o'clock now. Okay, that's been the case. Every week we get a couple of stragglers at the end thinking that 3 o'clock is the time. So again, we have switched over to 1 o'clock. It's just a lot more convenient for me and the rest of the family, my wife and myself, to be able to end this at 4 o'clock. Okay, and then relax before dinner. All right. And I'm going to talk about the resetting process as well. So we're going to do that. Now, the Pro 1000 with the ink sensor system, there's some things that you absolutely have to do. Okay. And there are now two options that you can adopt. Either, disabling the chip, in other words, after it reaches empty, it gets refilled. You can print for a while, and then eventually, as I've been told by Mike Lee from Precision Colors, you get a 1600 error. And that just simply means that, okay, finally, dude, you're out of ink, or do that. And now you have to either replace the cartridge or on what is it disable the chip. And what it does is just zaps the chip. It no longer will be able to, if it could be reset, it probably could not be reset at this point. So you have to do certain things. Now we've discovered, and I'm still getting data from people, information from people, that you may not even have to disable the chip. Okay, so we'll discuss that as well. And also some of the I got a couple of questions from a viewer stating that, well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that later. Basically, he's wondering why do this. Well, we'll talk about that. So, and the last question is, of course, what we're going to be talking about. And basically, it is, can the ink level sensor sneak up and fail without you knowing it and catch you where you literally run out of ink physically, but you don't know? And the answer to that is highly, highly unlikely. And we'll talk about why. Okay. So let's say howdy to everyone here. We are up to 28. Again, all of you who are watching, I assume, of course, that you're interested in the subject matter, photo printing at home. You may already own a printer. You may be an expert at it. And if so, I appreciate you hanging here with us, especially me. I'm not a super duper expert. I just been doing this for over 21 years. printing digitally, that is. I've been printing on the darkroom since I was like, gosh, 8 or 9 years old. I'm 72 right now. So did it professionally in the Army as a active duty photographer, doing all sorts of different aspects of photography. So been at this for a bit, but I still don't consider me an expert. I'm still learning from other folks like you. So Thayer Morgan, he is from Boston. I lived in Fort Devens, Massachusetts. Now I believe that place is closed down. In the little town of Ayr, Ayer. My second daughter, was born in Leominster. All right, so he's got a R2400, a Pro 1000, and I believe Jose has found the gate to Shangri-La. Yeah, I have a feeling that this is going to prove to be correct. Okay. Wow, my hat brim is crooked as can be. Maybe I need a new hat. I got this from Colonial Beach, Virginia, which is where my wife's uncle and aunt lived. He passed away, and we just went to visit her the other day down in historic Fredericksburg, Virginia. Miss Wendy, as always, is here, and she says a Pro 100, but we know she's got a Pro 1000. And here it is. So welcome back. Nice to have you. Jerry, Uncle Jerry, Selkirk, Manitoba, Canada, Canon Pro 100. Da, 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 da. Happy Canadian Thanksgiving for tomorrow. All right. Awesome. Henry Stoffel, Sunny Wells, Maine. I wish it was sunny today, but it is not. Owner of the P800 with OEM Inks, new Q Image Ultimate 2022, version 103. Update everyone with a new full page editor. So I did that. But you know what? I'm going to wait. I not only updated, but I am going to wait until I can get both of these guys. I believe his name is Andrew, and also Mike from Ultimate, and of course QMH One, to join us here on the live stream. They already offered to join us. At least Mike did. We'll try to get Andrew. They live right next to each other in Florida, so I don't think that's going to be a problem. But they're going to walk us through all of the new features. I watched the video that he outputted last night on my TV upstairs, and quite interesting. So we'll see. I still haven't really explored the new stuff that's available, but regardless. Alrighty. Sebastian, oh boy, let's see. Susniak. Epson L8180. TE 8580. So is that a different printer or the same version, depending on what zone of the world you live at? Last week, and he is from Poland. Okay, so these printers used to be only available basically in overseas. We did not get these L series. Now they're called EcoTank printers for quite a while, and they were not low in cost initially, but the replacement inks were just astronomically lower than regular cartridge because they're tank type printers. And depending on how critical you are of your output, they perform just fine for printing. Keith Cooper, has been doing videos on that big 8550 for quite a while. Again, often he sneaks in the phrase that after profiling, okay, Precision Colors will have pigment inks for that printer very soon. In fact, they may have them now. I'm not sure. Once you arrive at the correct blending and formulation, then you rely on the lab to be able to produce it in volume enough to sell. And of course, if you don't have any caps for your bottles, you can't ship inks. So that's another hurdle. And the same thing happened just the other day. He told me that he has orders for the sensor system, but the sensor provider doesn't have sensors to ship. And of course, he can go to another source, but they cost $2 to $3 more, and he would have to raise the price of the whole system. Again, it's totally worth it, folks, whether it is 200 or 250. is totally worth it because it will render the Pro 1000 as the perfect printer, really, as far as refillers go. If you're not a refiller, if you're buying OEM cartridges and replacing them as needed, then really you don't need that system. But otherwise, yeah, it's totally worth it. She is doing just fine. Yeah. A little bit of discomfort still, but every day the pain is less and less and less. So hopefully next week we'll be able to actually go on a car ride and go to our miniature club. Remember, we are miniaturists, so we create little scenes and cute stuff, I tell you. Um, and we have our club meeting is next Saturday. So hopefully she'll be well enough to ride in the car. Gordon Duke says, hi all. Gordon from Scotland. Here, Epson 15,000 already. Gerald Bam from Vancouver, Canada. 3880, EcoTank 4750. And looking for XP 15,000, 1500, 1500 as a potential addition. Maybe you mean 15,000. As the 3880 has decided not to print any PK and MK after power cleaning and numerous nozzle checks. It's probably your valve. That's why with the P800, they did I believe, a revamp of that valve and totally eliminated it on the P900 and P700 printers. So they just basically created a new printhead with 10 channels. And they added violet, I believe, to the 9 normal color set. So that's no longer an issue. The R2000, because of the way the ink palette is basically not having a gray and not having light cyan, they can integrate PK and MK together, and you just switch. When you switch your media, it immediately triggers the MK channel or the PK channel without having to do the ink exchange or change. So that's good to know. Anyway, let me get another little drink. I see Harold Goldberg is here from cloudy Richmond. Yes, same as here right now. We've been getting a lot of rain, intermittent rain lately. He's got Pro 100, PCSE ink, QImage, Rick Johnson cartridges, and Rudy's holder. And I got Rudy's second holder here. We're going to go ahead and install the cartridges that I refilled using the vacuum method in a little bit. Luis Duran. Oh, Duran is the last name of one of my cousins. My aunt Awilda, rest in peace. She did not have a very lucky love life, let's just say. So several of her children came from different fathers. And one of them was a detective from New York named Duran. I forget his first name. Very handsome guy, I tell you. Dashing looking dude, looked like a movie star. Hi, Jose. Do you know where I can find hardware for aluminum print slime metal easels? Floating brackets. I have no clue even what you're talking about. Slime. Are you sure you meant to type slime? Yeah, I don't know. I would go to a home supply center and see what they have. I assume that's some kind of extruded material. Sorry, I cannot help you, Luis. Rahav from Israel. Pro 1000 QImage Ultimate Red River Paper, Precision Colors. Enjoy very much. Awesome. That's what I like to hear, that you are enjoying very much. And Rudy's here. He's waiting. Hang in there, Rudy. I'm going to wait until we get it. Oh, we got 43 right now. Maybe if we hit like 50, I'll go ahead and bring you in. I'll provide you with the link down at the bottom here. Still M. Oh. Wait a minute. No appointment yet for the repair. Oh, okay. I remember you had a problem with a, what was it, PK? No, MK. Yeah. I talked to Mike Lee about that. Yeah. And MK, for whatever the reason, with Canon printers, especially the Pro One. The Pro One gave me some trouble. So far, the Pro 1000 has not, but the Pro One did give me some trouble, and it required several cleanings. And lucky for me, it got resolved. But yeah, I remember that. So let me know, please. Let me know. Keep in touch when you get your home repair situation set up, and let me know how that turns out. You said that you had an extended warranty on it, so they need to cover they need to fix this. Okay, whether they need to replace the printhead or whatever, that would be an instant fix, but it would use up a lot of ink, and of course, they better provide you with that because that's not your fault. Lee Roberts, hope you and your wife are doing well. I order ink from Epson 15,000 from Mike. If so, what do I do? Well, simple. You flip the cartridges up. I just did it yesterday. You flip the cartridges upside down. You put them on a scale. And this is before, do it like every 2 weeks, depending how often you print. You flip them upside down and you dribble ink, put them on a scale, dribble ink until you reach 27 grams. Put it back in your printer. Next cartridge, upside down, in other words, with the ink port facing up, and dribble ink on it. That's all you have to do. If you go beyond 27, you're going to flood that exit. It looks like a silk covered little exit port. It's rectangular in shape, about that big. Okay. So don't overfill it. 26.8, that's good enough. And then put it back on your cartridge. Now, you don't have chips to reset. You cannot reset the chips. So the only option you have is to go chipless, or I think they're selling chips somewhere. I have not yet seen them, and they're expensive. They're like $10 each. So it makes refilling not really economical. Okay. The only way to go is to go chipless, either with chipless solutions or inkchip.net. Okay. You buy the reset key because you're going to download the free firmware. You have to know how to install firmware on printers as well. Okay. And the XP 15,000 is a pain in the neck to reset or to have the chipless firmware installed. Okay. I went through a bit of a problem with it, and I ended up going with the opposite option, basically a different download, a different process to install it. Um, Either site has videos on how to do that. So that's your only option because there's no other way. There's no other way to run the 15,000 unless you render it chipless. Unless you can find chips, unless you can find auto reset chips. I don't think they exist. Okay. Maybe they do. If I'm wrong, please let me know and show me where I can get some. And we'll solve that little problem, right? Real quick. Bill Graney from Pennsylvania, Southeast Pennsylvania, Canon Pro 100. Awesome. We're up to 46. Donald Wingate, hello everyone. I'm a little late today. Nice here in Georgia today. You're not too late. You're fine. We haven't really started yet. Lee Roberts says, Jose, I'm thinking of getting a new Epson printer. What is a Eco Tank printer? It comes with bottles of ink. I fill them myself. What do you think? Yes, Eco Tank printers. They have tanks, depending on how many colors that ink palette is designed for. It might be black, it might be black, yellow, cyan, magenta, just 4, or you may have 6. In that case, you'll probably have a photo black as well as a pigment black. And the pigment black would be, for instance, for printing text on common paper, just regular plain paper. And yes, all you do is, crack open the bottle, put it on the upper portion of that particular tank. The ink will literally flow ink into the chamber by itself. and there's no ink monitoring by the printer or the driver at all. There's no chips, just that tank, and you keep tabs of it visually. As you print, you look at your tank levels, and then when you need to add ink, don't let it go low. You know, that would be crazy. They have ink lines, so you don't want to ever introduce air into these types of printers. So once they reach down to, like, say, 1/4 from the bottom, or 25% or whatever, just top it off, buy more ink and fill it. Now these printers will, of course, allow you to use anyone else's inks, as far as, as long as they are formulated for these Epson printers. You cannot use Canon inks. It's a different formulation. It might affect the printer, it might not, but definitely try to use the actual inks that they are selling. OEM inks for these printers are very cheap. XP, no, the EcoTank 8550 has 70 milliliter tanks, and a load of ink is $18. You cannot beat that. How long do you think 70 milliliters of ink will last you? This is 80. And the EcoTank printers do not run these crazy cleaning cycles all the time like Canon printers do. So they will actually save you a lot of ink. And they're dye-based, so they are not going to clog as often. You still need to consider printing often. Of course, any printer you own needs to be used often. So that's just, the nature of the beast, okay? Inkjet technology requires that you flow ink through those nozzles regularly, not just once a month, okay? So easy as pie and convenient as can be. Yeah, they're great. I'm about that close to buying an 8550, because simply it would be something you just run without worries. I mean, they have a user replaceable wasting cartridge. Again, when it gets full, you replace it, and it's not going to be the situation where we're going to be discussing later, where your printer stops working simply because the waste ink pads were declared as being fully saturated. They may not be. It's just that counter says it is. It's just like when these cartridges are declared empty. These are Epson cartridges for the 3880, 3800, and also the 38, the P800 is the same thing. When they are declared empty by the chip, there's still ink inside the bag. These cartridges have an ink bag. The EcoTank printers will not have that. It's just an empty container that you fill up and you maintain. And so, yeah, they're great. They're great for that. And imagine how much you can print. We're going to be discussing the subject of high-speed printing with a certain level of quality, and why it's more prone to those who just print, like, maybe handouts for meetings, or little brochures that you're just going to staple in the corner, and you want something printed quickly. 8550s will be great for that. Any of the other EcoTank printers, or the Megatank printers from Canon as well. Yep, there's a lot of new stuff out there, and the concept of being able to finally print without worries about ink costs, because your goal is not gallery quality in this realm of printers. It's just printing. Okay, so I just did a bunch of for Halloween. My daughter wants to dress up like Cruella. You've seen the movie, right? Cruella from the Dalmatians movie, the Disney Dalmatians movie, 101 Dalmatians. So she's going to be Cruella, and she's going to do a trunk or treat on her car. She'll have the trunk lid open, and I will have lots of pictures of a bunch of little, like 5x7 shots of Dalmatian puppies, because remember, that's what Cruella dealt with. And so she will be dressed like Cruella, and then I have a big 11x17 photo of the cartoon Cruella. Okay. And I printed those on my XP 15000, like that. The 5x7 quality, not that great. I used the lowest quality available. She's going to throw them away afterwards. and I used some paper. I forget what it was, some weird paper that I used to have some 5x7 boxes of. So I consider that throwaways. Now the 11 by 17, I use a sub glossy paper, high quality. It came out gorgeous. Okay, it was gorgeous. I could not believe how good that came out. But again, the other paper, even the coating was crappy, and so it didn't really have a good compatibility with the modern inks of the XP 15,000. Even though I'm refilling with precision colors, that formulation is still the same as the OEM inks. And so the results on that old style coating is really not a good match. So it just doesn't look that good. But a sub, and I know that you guys may not know about that paper, a dash sub. And I used to think it was only sublimation transfer paper that they created, but no, they have photo papers. All right. And it's reasonably priced. So I've got a couple of boxes of that. Now she's going to put that in her trunk and it's going to be fabulous. It's going to look great. So for that kind of thing, quick printing, okay, not necessarily gallery quality. You need to crank them out, hand them to the kids in the little league, team. They're going to get destroyed in a couple of days anyway. So no need to, strive for that high quality, but you'll be able to do it because it's going to be so low cost to operate. Okay. It's not a cheap, it's not an ex, it's not a cheap printer. Got messed up there. It's not a cheap printer. The 8550 is like $699. So it's $700. Okay. But with pigment inks, you put out some really good output. Or just use the dye inks they provide you with. On certain papers, that'll look fabulous as well. All right. Luis says Canon Pro 2100 Epson EcoTank 15. It's an EcoTank 1500 converted into sublimation printer. Okay, nice. That 2100 is a beast. Charles Verbruggen, Antwerp, Belgium, Canon 9500, Mark II, and Pro 1000 QMH Ultimate Color Monkey. He's got one of these old ones. Wow. So this is what preceded the i1 Studio. And I think they changed the chassis to a silver color chassis, but basically the same shape, style. And I don't know whether they upgraded the internals or what they did, but one good thing is that I can run that Color Monkey if I choose to do so with the i1 Studio software, not i1 Pro. And it does get recognized. Art. And he says, yellow from West Texas, Mac OS, High Sierra, PC inks, refillable cart for the Epson Workforce 7710. He's got an old Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop CS4. Awesome. Great. And then he adds, looks like less than half have gotten on board with the like train. Amazing live stream so far. Watch. Weighing for folks all aboard. Okay. Woo woo. That's my man right there. He keeps everything, keeps them all with the whip. Oh boy. I'm not that bad. Gerald Bam, wondering if it's worth replacing valve. Cost could be extreme. Okay, so at some point, and what were we talking? The 3880? At some point, the complete system, basically they call it the ink delivery system. So that includes, if you saw it dismantle, it would be the cartridge holders from up front, then the ink lines leading to the print head, which has the damper system, which basically will be 9 dampers, and the 2 blacks merge together via a valve that switches back and forth and allows the system, when you choose a media change from glossy to matte, or from luster, anything shiny to anything matte, and vice versa, it makes that ink switch. So Downstream for that, look, call it a Y with a single stream, a single point at the lower end. So PK here, MK here. So you're printing on matte media, only this ink is flowing. You switch over to glossy. That valve has to switch, and I have to then expel the remaining matte ink that's in that channel through the printhead into your waste container. Where's my waste container? This baby right here. And once it is done expelling that ink, now you're with glossy black ink, and you can proceed to print on glossy media or shiny media, and vice versa. That needs to be exercised often, like every couple of months. Do an ink switch. If you currently own one of these printers, you have to do that every single couple of months, okay? Because then what happens is that that valve is maintained supple. Okay, there's a gear train that runs that valve left or right. In other words, I'm being very simple here. I don't know exactly how it works mechanically, but you know what I mean. It opens up the gate, allows glossy black ink to pass through and push out the remaining downstream matte black ink. That gets pushed out, and then vice versa. When you switch over to matte black ink pushes out the remaining glossy black ink. Okay, that has a cycle lifespan of 1400 switches. That's it. So imagine, say, 1400 divided by, I don't know, let's see. How many months can we get? Say you do it once a month. That would be 1400 months. That's a huge number of years, right? So yeah, that's what you need to do. If people just have this fear of doing this because they think they're wasting ink. And yeah, you are wasting a little bit of ink, but you're maintaining that valve. It's the price you pay. Simple as that. And that will last you for a very long time. My 3800, my 3880 still have good valves on them. My R3000 does not. That was actually given to me for free, shipped to me for free because of that valve problem. Okay. Now it only prints with matte ink, with matte black ink. If I try to switch, nothing. I get a blank black channel. And then I have to switch back to matte black, and then I have to run several cleaning cycles. Is a pain. It really is. Let me see. Anyway, so I forgot to tell you the most important thing. So that whole ink delivery system, I believe at some time you could get them on eBay from people who just basically dismantle printers and sell the parts. $150 seems to be the average price, and then you have to know how to install it. So you're going to need the service manual for that printer, so you know what to disassemble and what not to disassemble. And that's it. You don't have to do any kind of updating on the EEPROM chip or any of the um, like internal memories. No, it's a purely mechanical replacement of the whole system, the ink delivery system. And then you're going to have to do an ink recharge. So you're going to need an adjustment program, or I believe that the WIC reset, WIC reset tool has that ability to do an ink recharge. If not, you're going to have to buy an adjustment program because you're going to have to refill all those ink lines and the internal dampers in your print head. And it's a lot easier to do it that way rather than 50 cleaning cycles. It would take that many probably. Okay, he's looking for hardware for metal prints such as easels, floating hooks. Yeah, you're a different field, my friend. That's not what I definitely deal with. So I would just basically go to some big art supply store and ask them what would be their suggestions. I do not do a lot of that. I do some sublimation metal prints, but they're only this big. Okay, so sorry. Gregory. Hi, Jose from Toronto, Canada. And Canon Pixma Pro 10. What do you think the quality of an eco tank? Well, it depends. It depends on your, what do you expect? And that's the whole subject altogether. Mike and I discuss that all the time, all the time. You have different groups of people. They expect quality to be the different output. It's like cars. You know, what would be a super expensive European car with super luxurious interior and riding comfort compared to, say, a $15,000 car? If you've never had a car and I give you that $15,000 brand new car, I'm not going to name brands because it doesn't matter. You're going to be thrilled until you ride on that other car. Okay. That $300,000 car. You see, so it depends. Is it sufficiently good? Yeah. Is the XP 15,000 sufficiently good? Is the what is it? TS 8320 I have upstairs. All of them are 6-color printers. Is it good enough? Is the R1400 also six color printer? Is that good enough? You see what I mean? Or do I compare it to the Pro 1000, the P800, the Pro 1 output? That's not fair. You see what I mean? Unless I show you both and maybe even not tell you where they came from, it's really up to your psyche, what your preferences are, whether you would choose one over the other. So, can they put out quality? Sufficiently good quality? Yeah, of course. Are the differences like astronomically different? Day and night? Shock. Oh my God, of course this is better than this. Not really. Not really. I find that really is not that much of a, you know, day and night difference. You just have to kind of have one available. Say you have a friend who has one and you go to their house and see their output. That's all you can do, and then compare it to others. Back in the old days, they had multiple printers in these computer shops, these stores, and you could, the big lot stores, and you could actually print samples, although they would be on plain paper. But still, you get an idea of ease of use, features. Again, it's all about not just output quality, but the features. Can you refill if you want to go that route, or you cannot? Then why bother, right? Unless you're going to buy nothing but OEM. So it depends. All right, VC today, Winnipeg, Canada, Pro 100 PCSE, Rick Johnson cartridges. It seems to be a pretty common combination. Gerald Bam says again, thank you for all the info about the valve 3880. Yeah, look on eBay, look for the ink delivery system for 3880, for the Pro 3880, and see if anybody has them. Then if you have a contact with someone who is, knowledgeable, let's just say, and has access to the service manual, because you really do need that, unless from numerous repair jobs how to disassemble what you need to disassemble in order to get to that system and replace it. um, you can do it yourself, maybe. I don't think I would want to. I'm not that great. Okay, let's jump over to YouTube comments. I'm just going to cover a couple of them, because what happened was, just today, like I said, I was looking at some of these comments that got blocked for whatever the reason. The algorithm decided to block them. So that's why I was a little bit worried about, what's going on here. So I looked at them, and of course, I found one particular one. Okay, I'm looking for something else. Hang on one second. Okay, that's the one I want. Let me put that there. So I'm not gonna have you. I'm not gonna make you read these. I'm just gonna go ahead and read them myself. Somebody wants to know about buying like older cartridges. I assume they are talking about possibly extracting ink from them or using them on their printers. Now, sometimes for the 3800, 3880, yeah, you could find cartridges that are clearly expired. Okay, they're clearly expired, but yet really the ink is still good. Now, particles particles of pigment ink are encapsulated in a resin to allow them to be more free floating than if they were not. So when you buy some like lower cost third party pigment inks, they're likely not to be encapsulated, and so they very easily will sink down. If the cartridge is allowed to just sit, you will see, literally, you look at the bottle and you will see a two-tone layer, okay, where the lower layer will be super dense and the upper layer containing mostly the liquid media that the particles are suspended under will be lighter. You need to shake that. You need to really, really shake that before you go ahead and add that to, say, a refillable cartridge. So in this case, the questioner was a person who wants to look at old stock, what was it? Expired cartridges, 2003 to 2009, 2015, and some that I am seeing, they will not be dried out. No, and see, that's a misconception from people. They think cartridges dry out. The only cartridge type that can dry out is one of these old type of like Lexmark cartridges. Yeah, if the tape is not attached to the print head, see, these things come with a print head. They may dry out. You can buy these new, you bring them in and you compare it weight wise to a super fresh new one, and they may vary. They may be lighter. And so, yeah, but these types of cartridges like these, they don't dry out. Come on. It's impossible. They are sealed. So they are not going to dry out. What you need to do, however, is this. You need to suspend those particles. Even if it's resin microencapsulated, you still need to do this. Okay. So that would be the only thing that I would recommend. Um, if you have an old printer and you're finding all you can find is old cartridges, really you have no other choice. So you have to rely on that now. If they are sponge type cartridges like these, you can't do anything. There's nothing, you can shake it all you want. It's not going to help. But if you have cartridges like these or like these, then you agitate them and resuspend that pigment ink. Okay, the component that makes that ink colored, in other words, you resuspend that. Now here's someone who just realized, Pro 1000 owner. I did a video called "Can you reuse Canon printer maintenance cartridges?" Well, technically not really, but if you're really good with your hands and cutting, Mike Lee did it. He actually cut off the corner of one of those tanks, the MC-20s, and replaced the insides, repacked them. He bought a resetter for the chip, and that's the only resetter for Canon Pro 1000s available, by the way. They seem to have a resetter for the maintenance cartridges, but not for the cartridges themselves, the ink cartridges. And yeah, you can technically repack it and reattach that cut off corner. Basically, let's see if I have one here. Yeah. So what he did was, here is a brand spanking new one. Let me go back to me. And so It looks like that. Pristine, never been used. Here is the input port. This is what connects with the printer. And then the chip is right here. Okay. So that chip can be reset, apparently. So what he did, I don't know whether it was this side or what, but he cut off a triangular corner here, down, across, and lifted that little corner like it was a little cap, and ripped out the insides, packed them again, put the cap back on it. And I don't know whether he attempted to seal it or what else, because I don't know whether this actually fills all the way to the top. Who knows what it does? And he put it back in the printer, and he has not gotten back to me as to whether this works or not. I need to ask him that. So yeah, technically, sure, you can do it. Is it easy? Is it convenient? Convenient? No, it's not. It's not. It's better to just buy a new one. They cost about $23. But here's the catch. Lately, they are super hard to find. Now, let me show you what I was able to find by simply typing MC20 maintenance cartridge. So here is what I got from Google. So, and these are various sources. I didn't go into detail looking at any of these at all, but we see that they are $14, $14.99. That's 15. A 2-pack for $30. That's not too bad. That's not what we're looking for. Here's the other one. $15. That's not it. This is it. $17. $26. Here's the resetter. And wow, they want $63 for one of these. You see what I mean? So this poor person is having a bad time because he can now not find a cartridge. Okay, and he had some jobs to perform on it, and the cartridge is full, and that means the printer dead on its tracks. Okay, so had he had a resetter, he could have reset the chip, put the cartridge back in, even though it may be, pretty close to being saturated, but he can still able to continue printing and then finish those jobs. And then once he has got those responsibilities out, ship those pictures or whatever he was doing to the customers, then he can proceed to see if he can locate some of these cartridges. Just because they show up does not mean they are actually available for shipping. Okay, just because you can Google them, that does not mean necessarily that you can immediately find them. Okay, another person. Okay, concerning the sensor system. So they were asking, why not just open up the cartridge? Remember, I was talking about these cartridges. You have two choices, actually three. OEM only, run until they're empty, or OEM only, running until they are declared empty, and then refill them and put them back in, and you will get a bit of time. Let me show you what the driver looks like. You will get a kind of a period of time where you can continue to use these cartridges, even though they are literally almost empty. Okay, so that's very important. Just because it says you can continue printing, or it's warning you that, hey, listen, if you continue printing, you might run out of ink. That does not mean that it will run out of ink. Okay, here we go. So here's what I got on my Pro 1000 right now. And as you can see, we have a PM, photo magenta, cyan, photo gray, matte black, photo black, blue, chrome optimizer, yellow, magenta, and the rest are low. So gray is low, PC or photo cyan is low, and red is low. So these ones with the red X is very important. Now listen up. These ones with the red X were never tampered with. Okay, they were allowed to go empty. So we printed until each of them got declared empty. I removed them. I drilled a hole and I filled them with ink and I popped the cartridges back in. However, with these other three, remember when I was installing the sensor system, I was testing whether in fact the sensor would be triggered at about 20 ml of ink left. And so I filled my gray cartridge as well as the other ones. I filled everything. These were already declared empty. Here's a critical point. The red ones were declared empty before I tampered with them. So I drilled a hole and filled them. The red one was not empty yet, but I drilled a hole and filled it. The photocyan was not empty yet, but I drilled a hole and filled it. The gray, that as well, I had done that. I drilled a hole and filled it. Then I realized, wait a second, I need a control. So I now have 12 cartridges that are filled to the max, 80 ml of total ink, but under different situations. 9 of them were allowed to go empty. In other words, hey, your cartridge is empty. Would you like to replace it? And I said, no, I'm going to drill a hole and refill it. So I did that. When I popped them back in, I did not get a nasty message back telling me, hey, dude, what are you trying to get away with? You see, I did not get any of that. And I went ahead and blindly pressed that, the stop button for 5 seconds, but nothing happened. It still looked red to me. So I figured, okay, fine. The rest of them, I did that once. The rest of the 8 red X cartridges, I never pressed that button. I just filled them and put them back in. But as you can see, they're still X'd red. The low ones, and to be low, that means that you reached a point where there were about 12 to 15 milliliters of ink in the cartridge left over. Okay, not fully empty. The X ones were empty. Okay, they reached empty. Remember, our internal system on the Pro 1000 is very accurate. It can detect when a cartridge is empty and it will zap that chip empty when it detects that. But the low one, I pre-filled before it reached empty. Okay, you follow me so far? So that red one, that gray one, and that photocyan one were filled prematurely. And so they have remained as low, regardless of how much I printed since that day. They still remain as low. And these were previously low before there was even any mention of a ink sensor system. Okay? You get where I'm getting at? So the older choice we had was to disable ink monitoring. Cartridges declare empty, you drill it, you fill it, you pop it back in. It still sees it as that. Notice, I want you guys to pay attention here. Notice we have a hint of photomagenta, a hint of cyan, a hint of photo black, and all along these. And yet the low ones have a larger hint of color. Okay. You see what I mean? So a truly disabled chip, you will see this totally blank. That's what you would see. Red X, but totally blank here. So see, there are some mysteries that we're finally now discovering with the Pro 1000. No one has done this type of research before. Okay. Seriously, no one has. I scour all of the forums and no one knows anything about this. Okay. So we're keeping it kind of here in our little circle. And I discussed this with Mike a lot. Now, so our first choice, of course, is to allow everything go empty, fill it, and wait for the 1600 error to show up. and then finally disable the chip, that last little remnant of cyan will disappear, but it was not going to stop you from printing. Right here it says printer is online. If printing is continued, the ink may run out. Okay. It sort of suspects what's happening. It allows you to do this because it thinks that you're worried about not using every last bit of ink. So Canon printers are very liberal when it comes to this type of letting you have that choice, not Epson. Okay. So what if I had just caught all 12 cartridges either before they were low or right as soon as they declared that yellow exclamation mark? And then I drilled it. I determined how much ink is in them by weighing them. See, 32 grams is empty. So anything above that means there is that much ink in the cartridge, weight-wise. Assuming, of course, that a gram of ink is 1 ml. It may not be. The density of ink may be different than water. Okay. So we're going to add ink until it's nearly full. And we're going to put the plug in and we're going to pop it back into the printer. It will then be whatever level it was at. Okay. Whatever level it was at. It will continue to drop until it reaches, say, low. Maybe that cartridge was at 40%. You caught it that early. Now, if it was already low, okay, and you drill and fill top off in this case, then how does the printer, not the cartridge, the cartridge does not have a brain. It just has a chip that relies on the printer. Okay. So how does the cartridge know it is empty? Not the cartridge. The printer knows that the cartridge is empty. Remember, Mike explained that to us the other day, and I did a video showing you. So it's a series of sensors inside each compartment. Not this. This does not have anything in it. I'll show you what this has in a minute. Internal compartment. Let's jump back to me. So internal compartment has two sensors. One senses when the compartment is filled to the top or to the full, whatever that is, full amount of volume of ink. Then it has a secondary sensor, just like your toilet tank. Water level drops, the flow begins to drop, or some toilets are very fancy. They have different systems, but basically water level drops, a water inlet valve is open, water comes in, fills up the tank until that point where the sensor, in this case the float, closes the inlet valve and no more water can come in. Otherwise, you would have water constantly flowing. So inside the ink compartment are two sensors. The one that determines, okay, you filled me to the top, let's continue printing. Print. Begins to drop. It then triggers a secondary sensor. Opens up a valve that allows ink from the cartridge to flow into that compartment. Compartment level rises and it touches the upper sensor. Stop, closes the valve, no more ink can enter. So let's just hypothetically, you just topped it off. Okay, the printer did it behind your back. You don't even know this is happening. It got topped off. It's reading low. But because there's like only 1 ml left or 2 ml left in the cartridge, it got topped off and said, okay, stop delivering ink. But it has no clue there's only 2 ml in here. So the next time around, when the levels drop and that secondary sensor is triggered, it opens up the valve. That last 2 ml trickles in, rises a little bit, and hey, come on, fill me. Oops, you don't have any more ink. Zap, the chip gets zapped. Red X or red X. That's how it knows. So as long as I have ink in my cartridge, that chip will not get zapped because I continue to fill that compartment. And initially we thought, you're out of your mind for thinking it's that simple. Out of your mind. Well, I'm getting a lot of feedback from people now telling me, oh my God, it's happening to me. I have been low forever. I keep refilling it. Yeah. See, we thought we could do that on earlier type cartridges like these. These have an optical sensor, and that did not work. We could not get away with that one. Okay. This is before a resetter became available. So we tried that, and of course that did not work. And because that did not work, then we assumed that it wasn't going to work with the Pro 1000. It will work with the Pro 1000, at least until I'm proven wrong. The 2000, the 2100, and everything up after that, it will work. Assuming, of course, that we are correct. And so far, so good. I've been printing like there's no tomorrow. I have a ton of 13 by 19 prints. I check my ink levels on one of the cartridges by weighing them. I removed it. Now, removing the cartridges for topping off is a bit of a trick because remember, you did your cable management. So I have all my cables neatly attached to little clips on the side of each side of the printer, 6 on this side and 6 on that side. You can't really pull it out because you need to give yourself a little slack. So what you do is you open up the little clip, disconnect the cable from the clip, pull it out, push it in, unlock it, pull it out. I remove the sensor, laid it aside, and I weighed the cartridge. Now, full weight that I started with was 112. So 112 gives me 80 grams above what? 32. Okay. So I have my total load of ink initially. I put the sensors on it and I just print, 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 print. And then I went ahead and weighed that one cartridge. And it had dropped not even that much, really. It was like 98 grams at that point. So you figure it's 14 grams of ink have passed out of the cartridge. Okay. So theoretically, since we know that low warning is triggered around that volume weight, 14 grams of ink or 14 ml of ink, that at some point, pretty soon, if that cartridge is not declared empty, I just got away with it. Okay. Because right now it should be on that borderline, but I already think I passed that. Why? Because that cartridge was already low long before I even drilled it. Okay. Really. It's amazing. It's amazing. So if you don't use your Pro 1000 properly, you will waste a lot of ink on cleaning cycles. Yeah, we all know that. But let me tell you, um, what was it, like 4 days ago? I printed a batch of 13, 13 by 19s. So I literally loaded 13 sheets of paper and came over here and loaded 13 images on QImage and printed them. It began to print pretty soon. I mean, it did like a couple of gyrations and it began to print. And I don't understand what's going on. I haven't updated anything on it. Okay. And for whatever the reason, it's really not doing this very long setup processes. And so I'm very happy with that. And I wanted to use ink. In this case, it's funny because I wanted to use up a lot of ink because I want to reach those thresholds where either it will get triggered empty or we can just happily live happily after. Yes, live happily ever after with that printer. Again, so either you set all your chips, allow them to go empty, or just catch everything when it's before it's low or at the low setting, and you're good to go. You're good to go. Keep refilling. So no more worries about chips. Now remember that the original so-called auto reset chips for the Pro 1000 were meant to basically be declared empty. You either fill the cartridge via the vacuum pressure method or drill a hole like we're doing now. And at that point, all you would have to do is remove the cartridge, fill it, pop it back in, and power interruption to the chip will reset it. That's what happens with some of the older Epson auto reset chips as well. No, it did not work. It was always declare empty. So Nothing we could do. And that those chips you could not continue printing. It would just stop the printer until you replace it. So OEM chips, you can continue to use it. Just refill it and continue to use it, and it will then zap you with that 1600 error. I haven't seen that yet, but it's coming from what I have been told. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. It's been a great adventure, let me tell you. Now, let's just quickly get out of that subject, and let's talk about printers, because somebody wanted to print really fast. And I thought, well, really, there's no printer I could recommend that you can crank out, say 5x7s in 20 seconds, unless you print in basic plain paper mode. No, and then it'll look like crap. So the reason being is that, you see, now if I was to measure this, I would say that each row of nozzles is about an inch in length. Now, in theory, you could make a full inch wide swap of ink, advance the paper exactly 1 inch plus 1 pixel or one nozzle, another pass, advance another inch, another pass. Yeah, the quality would be horrendous. Okay. The quality would be, for that printer, this is Canon, would be 300 dots per inch. You could see the dots. Okay, you could see the dots. The way that you get beautiful continuous tone is by overlapping. So the next quality up would only advance half an inch plus one nozzle. And that way, the first layer would be printed over with all kinds of dithering added. So you will start to very gently mix those dots. If you print 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, you're only making one single pass, okay, per inch. You're only going to get the minimum. There's only so many nozzles there, okay? So that's why we need to print at a slower rate or a higher quality rate, so that you get a lot of overlapping. I use maximum quality on my Pro 1000. It takes forever. Tough cookies. It takes forever. Your Pro 1000, your Pro 100 even, is really not meant for this high-speed printing. So if you're going to be printing photos and you want high speed, forget it. Really, truly forget it, unless you just want junk. And then you can just use the plain mode. You get a faster output, but it will look like junk. Okay. My 8320 upstairs prints your tech stuff from the internet. Boom, 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 out. That's it. You look at it, it's good enough. On plain paper, everything wicks together anyway, so you don't really see the dots, but they're there. On glossy paper, and you could not get away with that. You would have to use a higher set, unless what you're giving away you really don't care about, okay, or what you're selling. Even worse, that would be awful, to sell stuff done at that kind of low quality, simply to gain speed, to increase your output. That would not be good. So photo printers, they're not designed for that. They are really not designed. You want to print quick, get a laser printer. And even those might be relatively slower than you might wish. I don't know. R2000, R400, are they still good? Let me show you real quick, because we got to get to Rudy here. We've been on for, let's see, an hour and 18 minutes. So I printed this the other day. It's a very high contrast, high saturated shot of a sunset. Really, really a very demanding image, okay? R2000. Look at that, folks. Okay, let me line it up so you don't see the reflections as badly. There you go. Check that out. Unbelievable. And look at the gloss. This is on semi-gloss paper. And again, that printer is using the so-called gloss enhancer. Now, one thing that happened, let me go ahead and erase all of these topics, paper like that is resin coated. Let me show you one more time. So say this paper was blank, it was not printed. First of all, it kind of curls away from the printable surface, but on the back it says clearly Canon. Multiple little watermarks saying Canon, so you know which is the front, you know which is the the printable side, and which is just the back. And of course it's resin coated, so you look at the surface and it's easy to tell, but maybe not so easy when it comes to a textured or like a fine art type paper, that although it may look the same on either side, maybe it is not. It's only coated on one side. So something like a watercolor paper, you would think that if you look at the surface, I'll just show you this real quick. I don't know if you can see the surface. If you look at the surface, now you can't see it. This is the rougher surface side. So I printed that on the R2000, and it looks horrible. It really did look horrible. I thought, what's going on? Is my matte black not being triggered? Then I realized, oh, wait a second, let me see something. And I did this. Oh, my finger stuck to the back. I printed on the wrong side. This is what it should have looked like. You see that? From this dull, blacks are gray, to this. So be very careful. Do not trust your eyes with some of these papers, because it will fool you. Okay. So make sure that you do that little wet. If you don't want to lick your fingers, just wet these two fingers, thumb and index, with some water, and then squeeze the corner, something that's not going to get printed on, of course, and see where it sticks. Now, some papers may be double coated, and so that's going to be a little bit difficult. And something like I have tested, I believe it was Breathing Color Rock River Soft Rag. So soft gloss rag. It's a Barita paper and slightly textured beautiful. It looks like photographic paper from the darkroom. And both sides are coated. So from the little bit I know from coating machines, the part that's not coated, you're not going to print on. So if there's any little scuff mark from the transport system, it doesn't really matter. But some papers, depending on the paper base, what their components are, what it's made out of, may react to having one surface coated. They may curl. And curled paper is something you do not want on your printer, unless it's a super professional printer with very strong vacuum advance. Those corners may be popping up a little bit, and you got a few thousandths of an inch clearance between the nozzle plate and the surface of the paper. So you will get scuffs, marks, scuffs, puddles of ink, whatever, if anything is touching. It's called a head strike, and it always happens on the entry point of the print head against the paper. So that right edge, if you're looking at the print as it's coming out, that right edge of the print will get hit if it's curling up a little bit too high. And the first inch of the paper is not supported. The last inch of the paper is not really supported. So that's where you will more than likely find these artifacts taking place. And so what some of these companies will do is they'll coat both sides. That will equalize the curling. So the papers will be very flat. Now, does that mean you can print on both sides? See, they coat it just for that, to alleviate the curling problem. But can you then print on both sides? Can you make a booklet? Well, yes and no, but you may end up with a little scuff mark on the opposite side, what would have been the back side, that then got recoated. And imagine those rollers now also came into contact with the supposed printable side. So often, in fact, this particular paper, they recommend you do not print on both sides, even though you're able to do so. And I've done it, and I can see what the company meant by saying don't print on both sides. There's a little tiny, almost like burnishing, okay, like a little wheel caught it right there and transported it. It sort of squeezed it a little bit. It looks like a little strip that's a little bit shinier than the rest of the surface. Anyway, that can happen, so be careful. Be careful. Let's see. Let me ask Rudy if he's ready, because I have his stuff sitting right here. Rudy, go ahead and post. If you want the link, I'll post it here, and you can come on and we'll walk you through the system. So I'll wait for you to do that. I'm going to go ahead and crack open this other one. This is this much simpler cartridge holder. And I've got the fancy one, the stackable one here next to me as well. He packages this like a professional factory. I don't know how he does that. So put this aside. Let's go ahead and begin installing this. I'm waiting for, oh, he's ready. So let me get the link. I'll post it. Control V. You can come in whenever you want. I should be able to see you. Let's see, I got some light gray. So we'll snap this right here. Man, I got some noisy gut today. I don't know what I ate. Maybe I'll do this later. Oh, here we go. Do it the right way. Maybe it'll work. Okay, so there you go. We got the light gray attached. What's the next one? Gray. And again, you can see the names right here. So gray would be, where are you? Here we go, right here. Like that. And I haven't done this yet, so I'm just doing it now to kill a little bit of time here before he comes on. Black is right here. The next one is magenta. We'll show you how this looks like once it's all nicely organized. Light photo magenta. Right here. You guys got to realize I'm working on a very dark environment here. So it's hard sometimes to see everything. PC right here. And cyan over here. And of course, yellow right here. Now, yellow is the only one that I did not vacuum fill because I did not have, of course, you cannot because you would have to have flushed your cartridge. And how are you going to do that, right? So, who's calling? Ah, my daughter. Poor thing had to work today. All right, so there it is. Is this thing tight? Here we go. I have all the cartridges attached. And so that is really convenient. I can just store this as a freshly reset and filled set of cartridges, again, using the vacuum method. Rudy is getting ready here. I'll wait for him to get all lined up, and then I'll bring him in. Yep, he gave me the thumbs up. There he is. All right, Mr. Halleman. How are you, my friend?
Hi,
Hope
Jose.
you're doing
Fine. Thank
okay.
you so much.
Yeah, so I got the box yesterday. Let me go ahead and show the folks first your new stackable system. Look at that. That's a lot fancier than this unit. So I know you've been very busy designing these. I'm going to go ahead and, where's my razor blade? Show really quick here to the folks what you have here. What kind of equipment do you have to be able to wrap these?
This is just a normal, what's that? Vacuum. It's a vacuum system.
Okay. You call it normal, but to me, this is pretty advanced. So, oh, wow. So this is a lot more involved. Let me show everyone what you have here. Custom molded piece of cardboard that goes inside here. Look at that. And so how does this seal against the port? Right here, right? So these are the
Yeah,
screws.
yeah.
Okay. This is the
The
first time I
okay.
cracked. I haven't touched this since I got it yesterday. So so let's just put in a cartridge. Let me remove this clip. I don't need the clip anymore, right?
Yes, sure.
Take it out, and we'll look for. This is PM. So
Yeah,
PM
that's the
right here.
upside. Uh, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
This
that's the
way.
way. No, no, that's wrong way. Wrong
No,
way.
it is
Upside down.
upside down.
Upside down. Yeah.
No, I
Okay.
think. Oh, I see what you mean. Of course. Bad, bad, bad. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Yeah,
there
that's
you
the
go.
way.
I did not see the pad.
Push up first and then yeah, push up and then push in,
Okay.
and then you sit on the boat.
And that applies enough pressure to keep the
Yeah,
port
sure.
sealed. Okay.
Yeah, it's good for storage.
Gotcha. So let's take a look at the important one. Okay. So let me give everyone a review what we originally had. This is what we originally had, and I tried it. It wasn't your fault. It was the syringe's fault. That's these plastic syringes continually wear out after maybe 2 or 3 tries. So I suggested some way to externally apply vacuum without being exposed to liquid ink. And so you came up with something different. I also complained about not being able to see the sponge as it was being filled with ink fully. Only a portion of the sponge was visible. So you took care of that. You told me you went through 3 generations
Yeah, that's
of
right.
design. So this is the new one. And I assume this is going to sit like this, right?
Right, correct.
Okay. And you have your pad lock here for the sealing the vent and your cartridge holder. I'm going to do a video later, not today because I don't want to
Oh,
make a
sure,
mess here. So
no problem.
what I want to know more about is this. So let me just take this out. I took the little ends that you had attached to either side and I connected the syringe, which is going to continue to flow smoothly because we will never have ink
Touch.
inside, right?
Yeah,
This is only
right.
going to be air. It's
Yeah.
only going to be applying. And so, how do you go about filling this with ink?
From the lower lock side, you just use the syringe and fill inside about
So,
16 milliliters. Yeah,
like that.
right. Yeah, that's the
So
way.
you're going
That's
to
the way.
measure out. You're going to measure out
By another syringe or
another
whatever.
syringe with a needle, 15 milliliters, insert it in there. Now, I have realized that a higher gauge needle, because the opening here is quite small, and something like a most of the blunt needles that we buy from third-party companies are gauge 20. That's too big. And if you have even a little bit of moisture inside, it will literally seal. So you need a very not one of these. This is too high. So I would use like a 23 gauge. Okay, 23 gauge needle is narrower. You have a lot more clearance between the size of the needle and the opening. To me, it's a lot easier, my friend. It's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Now, I would also recommend to put a mark. What constitutes 15 ml? Just put a little marker right here, and then you can use one of these bottles.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need a syringe. Insert it, tilt it like this, insert it, add ink,
Yeah.
add ink, add ink,
Perfect.
reach the 15 ml level,
Perfectly.
and remove it. You're done.
Yes. Yep.
You're done. And then, so now I assume we're going to apply vacuum. We're going to install this with a cartridge attached in that holder, oriented in the correct orientation, which will be like this, right? This is your base.
Right. That's right.
We're going to pull back, create a vacuum, and allow then ink to flow in.
Yeah.
And you say, how many pulls do you have to do? I would
Um,
I would hope to just do one, one or two, no more than that. That's
it's okay. You can
yeah.
do many pulls, no
Okay.
problem.
All
Many
right.
stroke, no problem, because you only create vacuum in the vacuum chamber, no
Okay.
pressure.
Yeah. All right. Now you know what you made me do, because when you sent me that email the other day, I had to go back to Printer Knowledge forum. Printerknowledge.com used to be called another name many years ago. I
Yeah.
remember I've been following that forum and DP review for over maybe 15 years. And so I went back and I searched for the freedom method. You know what that is, right? The freedom method, folks. For those of you who may be wondering what the heck I'm talking about, let me go ahead and open up that website so you guys know. So we're going to go to DP review. But you guys know that this is not something new. This has been not DP review, printer knowledge.
Yeah, since a long time ago,
Right.
2011.
Oh my gosh, yes. So let me do the search. Gosh, I'm still a member of that. I used to be a premium member of that.
Yes,
I
yeah,
used to
you
be
are one of the best
I used
over
to be
there.
one of the top sought after guys in that forum. I haven't really been very active in there. So freedom method canon.
Yeah, it's very interested topic
Yeah.
to discuss among the
Okay.
refill
So
enthusiasm.
way back, folks, and I'll give you a little history lesson here. Why people even wanted to explore this. So just like Rudy has been, dealing with. Let me take this out. This is my sample. So an untampered cartridge at the factory is filled via vacuum. It literally is. These guys were doing, Rudy, did you know that they were actually immersing this in ink inside a vacuum chamber and just letting ink,
Yeah,
just
right.
letting ink just go in, and then they had to take it out and wipe it clean. It was amazing. Oh, you left me. Anyway, so let's take a look at what these people were discussing way back then. So you needed an adapter, and the adapter was basically something that looked like this. me back to me. So this is the adapter, but this is for a Pro 10. So you needed something like this. Where's my other adapter? There you go. I got the right one now. So you would attach this onto your cartridge. And then you would seal the vent. This has a plug hole. So you would seal the vent and you would apply vacuum with ink. And you would tilt it this way, literally. And then when you pull back, create a vacuum, you let go, the ink would begin to flow and it would begin to enter the chamber. And back then, these people could not get a, let's just say they could go to about maybe 75% fill on the chamber. But that was good enough. That was good enough back then because remember, we had no way of refilling these. No one had come up with a method of drilling a hole and a plug. What's a plug? We didn't even have plugs. So we had to come up with a different method. So that's how we did it back then. And then, of course, somebody decided to do the top filling method. And so that required a hole to be drilled anywhere in this chamber area. And so you needed a plug that would seal that hole perfectly after you filled the chamber with ink. And let me show you what the variability of results was. Let me see if I can make this bigger. No, oh, here we go. So this is what people were getting. So with the syringe, in other words, so if you were to pull back on the syringe, hold it like this, pull back on the syringe, you would attach the syringe like this, by the way. So you pull back and create a vacuum with ink inside the syringe. You needed a syringe with sufficient volume for you to not only hold 15 ml, but create sufficient level of vacuum that would then allow the ink to come in. And at some point you would get that. So the top example basically is syringe fill vacuum, 2 week to fill without air. Filled through ink, let's see, outlet. So you were literally filling up with through the outlet of the cartridge itself, through the actual port. Now, fill through air maze vacuum pumps. Now, here's what they did, and you guys are going to be probably quite shocked. So, in order to do that, so this is just an example of how far we have become, how far we have come. Real clip, regular clip on this. So now what they're doing there is the original clip with a rubber band. Okay. This is, of course, much better. These were not available then. These were not available. Let me bring you back. All right. So we're talking about the original fill. So the original fill that they tried was with one of these adapters, Rudy. You see what I made here? You see that? It's just a clip. Actually, they took one of these original clips, drilled a hole, attached a stubby needle to it with lots of glue, attached that to the bottom of the cartridge, seal the vent, pull back, create a vacuum, and pump ink in. But you got a lot of air. According to those early tries, ended up with a lot of air. So then they did this, and this is crazy. This is, by today's standards, we would never want to do this. So they would seal the bottom. Let me mute you until you're ready. Okay, I'll bring you in a second because you're adjusting your mic and all of that. So you start with this. Now, get this. You submerge this in ink, okay, inside a vacuum chamber and create 0.95 level of vacuum right there. And ink would enter through the chamber into the sponge and enter through the vent, fill the sponge, and eventually the liquid chamber. What you ended up with is a cartridge soaked with ink that you would have to then clean up. How about that? Okay, are you able to hear me?
Yes, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So that's remember, folks, we've come a long way. Imagine having to do this to literally immerse this in ink so that ink can enter through that vent in a vacuum environment, 0.95 level of vacuum, and allow ink to enter that way. And I believe that that's how they are being filled in the factory. Then they insert the ball and they put the seal over the top and seal it. And you get to pull the little tab off the brand new cartridge when you install it to expose the vent to air. Then of course you remove the bottom, snap it off, and install it on your printer. Really, really interesting the way they used to do that. And so let me go back to this. So they're talking about seal the ink outlet with Canon original cartridge, I mean orange cap with rubber band. Place the cartridge in a vacuum container jar with air mace down. So Rudy,
Yep.
the air vent was actually immersed in ink. Fill container with ink. Full vacuum, then release it. Take cart from the container, squeeze it for the ink from air maze a few times. So they had to then clear out the completely filled air maze. Now remember, you cannot have air in that. I mean, you can have ink in the air maze. Otherwise, you don't get any ink flow.
Yeah.
That's how they did it. And then take some paper towel, clean it, remove orange cap, then absorb any ink until the ink maze part of the cartridge is clear. Put the orange cap back on, seal the maze with magic
So
tape, and then put into storage.
a lot of job.
Wow.
A lot of job.
Wow.
Too
I
much.
think, listen, we have it made. And some people still cannot do the very basic, simple, filling process with a plug. That is ideal. Now, this method that we're going to be using, I'll be doing a video this coming week on, really will produce cartridges that are like this.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is the only one that has a regular plug, the yellow one, for obvious reasons, because you
Yeah.
cannot add OEM ink, with third party ink. Anyway,
I did very pristine black with that system. No
yeah,
foam at all.
nice.
Very clean. No foam.
Yeah, so there you go. So I mean, so let me see that again. Put that back up.
Okay.
Let me solo you. Okay,
No.
was that a third party cartridge?
Yes, this is a third
Yeah,
party
because it has
cartridge.
the gap. It has the yeah. It doesn't have a full chamber. I
Yeah,
have some of those.
there is no plug at all.
Yeah, I think they're all pretty much the same. Let me see if I have some available here. Hang on.
So you see, very pristine black.
Right.
No foam at all. And clean ventilation chamber.
Okay, so I got some third-party cartridges right here. Look at this.
Yeah.
Rudy, can you see?
Yes,
Yo-Yo.
I saw you. Okay, I saw you.
Yo-Yo ink. And so you take one of these out, and let me see what we have. I think we got the same situation going on. See that?
Yeah.
The liquid chamber is only partially, it actually has a dividing wall
Yeah.
on it. Yeah. So we're going to be testing these in the future. I'm a little worried about doing that right now, but
No. Yeah. Just wait. Make it very well prepared.
yeah,
But with this system, you will have a very clean because you only create vacuum to the project, to the system. There is no pressure at all. The problem people make when they when they wait for the balance, the foam or the air also go inside to the cartridge. So that's make our pull and wait create what's that? A lot of air on the sponge.
Mm-hmm.
But with this system, you only apply vacuum and no bleeding at all. When you disattach the vacuum chamber, that is in
Let me take
vacuum
this off.
situation.
Yeah.
When you open the ventilation seal, is also in the vacuum position. So
Mm-hmm.
you will have no mess at all. It's clean procedures.
Okay. So
Test,
let
test
me.
it, test it.
So let me go back to these two components here.
Yeah.
So it looks like you put some shrink wrap here. What is
it's
this?
a it's a valve.
A
It's a
felt. Okay.
valve. Yeah, valve.
So
So
you put a little stop here as well,
yes.
and you
So you
printed
don't
that, didn't you?
you don't damage you don't damage the
The
plunger.
plunger. The plunger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it stopped before it touched the hole. There is a hole inside the rubber.
And what kind of valve is this?
This one way valve. So only air can out from the chamber and cannot enter. So only one way. We call it
Okay.
the check valve or one way valve.
Okay. Excellent. I'll be putting this through the paces. I'm going to go ahead and do a water test on a one of my really bad cartridges
You
and
will
see
have
how
a
that
lot of
works. Yeah,
fun.
we'll do it upstairs in the kitchen sink and see how that works, and then I'll proceed to do some more refilling. I'm literally running out of ink. I gotta ask Mike to send me some more ink
Yeah,
because I gotta find that. That's what happened the last time when I was testing the early version,
yeah.
and
Do you know what's happened? A lot of people cannot do the vacuum system very well because they have a lot of problem. The first one, they don't have the equipment to hold nicely, and then the
yeah,
second one, they deal with the leakage. Leakage make a lot of problem. And then also the last one also with the syringe, as you found the syringe is too small to accommodate vacuum, and also the problem with the what's that resistance of the plunger after you use it
yeah.
several times. Yeah,
Well,
that
I,
is
I work in the medical research lab for 24 years. We were involved after 9/11. We did a lot of research as to what we were being attacked with in the Gulf War and all of that. I worked for the Armed Forces Institute of
yeah,
Pathology.
yeah.
American. I was actually a contractor for the American Registry of Pathology. So
Wow, yeah,
we did a lot of work concerning it. So everything we used back in the old days, everything was made out of glass.
yeah.
So after use, you wash it, you autoclave it, and you pack it again and reuse. Well, not now. Everything's plastic. One use, and you throw it away. So
Yeah,
these syringes are not meant for multiple uses.
yeah.
Everybody
So
that's using these for ink, you have to realize they are not meant for multiple use. They're meant for
exactly, yeah.
yeah. Now this one here, lucky me, it still works really, really super easy. Look at this.
Wow,
But again, that's just luck.
yeah.
Maybe after more uses, I won't be able to do this. But look at the gauge of this needle compared to these. So this is a 20. This is a 23. This is what I would use to refill the compartment, the ink compartment, to
Yeah,
fill it because that will allow me to never get a little bit of an airlock inside. I had some dribbles of ink pop up, some bubbles because of that, because this was too big
yeah,
and it was already wet. I've been refilling and washing, and that was already wet, and so it gave me a problem. So like this right here, I was trying to refill it. Look at that, it's a perfect fit. That is a perfect fit. If I squeeze, air can barely escape. You see what I mean? So I
yeah.
need a smaller diameter needle. And I would recommend that for anyone. Look how
But yeah.
look at this is going in the trash can.
That's right. That's right.
Uh,
So
throw it
we
away. Yeah.
yeah, the syringe in the vacuum pump. If you have a problem with the plunger, you just put the vegetable oils to make it run smoothly.
I've
Very
heard
easy.
silicone oil.
Oh, good
Again, see,
also.
I was worried. I was worried about, sure, I can do that, but then I'm worried about having ink come into contact with that.
No, no,
So
no.
not no longer, you see, because now the syringe is isolated
Yeah, that's right.
from
With
the
the
liquid.
one-way valve.
So
Not
before you contacted me, I was thinking along the same lines, Rudy. I
yeah.
was thinking about, okay, so I have this. Now I'm going to put a container with ink here,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to adapt a lure lock, and I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
have
yeah.
a different way to create a vacuum.
Yeah. It's work too. It's
So
work
I
too.
was thinking about that,
Yeah,
but it was
yeah,
going to be a lot more involved, and you came up with it. So that's fine. We'll give it
yeah,
a test and see how that works out.
yeah. So
And
the new system will be has a higher successful rate because first it have what's that the single stroke. I mean, with the palm you
mhm,
will have only single stroke on the filling system, so only vacuum, no pushing, no only vacuums. Second, you don't have leakage. The third, you have the vacuum you know how stop when the vacuum position when you stop everything in vacuum position, so no messy bleeding outside from
right.
no ink go outside from the system.
Yeah, the problem before was because the syringe, you didn't know at what point. Okay, let me demonstrate with this.
Yeah.
So you create a vacuum. We have negative pressure now.
Yep.
Ink goes in. And
Yeah.
remember, we were pushing ink. Remember? Initially, we were pushing ink, creating a positive
Yeah.
atmosphere inside the cartridge, pulling back, creating a
Yeah.
vacuum.
Problem.
Where is the neutral position?
Yeah.
We did not know
We
that
did not know. Right.
because the way that this wasn't flowing so easily. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
never knew at what point. See, with that other syringe, it's impossible to know. Yeah, it's impossible to know when you reach neutral
Right.
pressure,
Yeah.
meaning inside pressure is X amount, outside pressure is the same, atmospheric
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah.
So what I was trying to do is reach a point where it was equal and then a slight bit of vacuum. So when I
Right.
remove this, I don't get a spit.
Yeah.
You
That's
see,
the way. Yeah. That's
that's
the
why.
way the freedom guy told.
Yeah. You see how I got some ink?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is not because you use colored plastic. This is because I spilled ink everywhere. You see that? But I mean, it's just you know, you know how they say, if your fingers are not stained with ink,
Yeah. Wow.
you're not part of the club.
That's been you are very enthusiastic with
That.
the refilling
All
system.
right. Well, excellent, man. Awesome. Now let's talk about this one. So this, if you're the type of user that has, say, 3 sets of cartridges, so these are stackable. You said, right?
Yeah, that's stackable.
So
You
you can,
can stack up to
yeah,
four
you can
or
prep.
maybe five.
So you basically can prep multiple sets and just keep them ready to go.
Yeah,
I could do that right now. I got about 4 sets
yeah, yeah,
ready.
yeah.
So
The why I make it because actually I use a very little ink with my printer, the Pro 100. I print a little. So
yeah,
what's happened after 2 months? I saw the the level of the ink in the liquid chamber is going low. That's mean the ink is evaporate. So I think, wow, this is a problem. When it's evaporate, the physical of the ink will be changed, and when the physical ink change, it may be damage my printer. So I'm
mhm,
thinking to close both outlet where the air can come in. So I come with the system. That's why I call it
yeah,
a storage system. This is not the
okay.
holder. This is nothing. This is storage, so
So
we close both outlet.
this is both. This is basically, if I did this, what you were able to achieve here is like this is still exposed to air.
Yep, that's
I
right.
grant. So people say, well, if you're going to store this for 3 months, you should tape the vent shut.
Yeah, yeah,
But this does it for you, right?
yeah.
This
This
is
very
shutting.
practical.
This is sealing the vent and sealing the exit port.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
All right.
and you can stackable.
Right.
So you save your space and cleans a working space.
Now I'm looking at your construction here. Very
It's very,
nice.
yeah,
This is
very very
this is
strong
this
construction.
is I mean, this has got to be designed on a CAD. You use a CAD
Yeah,
program, right? So you
right.
design this, and then the 3D printer has this is like a perfect fit right here.
Yeah,
So I think that would be difficult to achieve even for someone machining it. You
yeah,
know, the fact that the 3D printer can create a part that fits that accurate is pretty amazing to
yeah.
me. And then these are attached via looks like is it a rivet or
No, it's a bolt and nut, a stainless steel
okay.
bolt and nut, so you
So I
never
see
get corrosive.
inside here you see folks take a look at that.
Yeah, it's a bolt and nut.
Okay, and so that this is spring loaded basically because it
Yeah,
is yeah.
spring loaded. Yeah,
Okay,
that's
very
good.
good,
Yeah,
very good.
thank you so much.
So once I go through the test it and give you the okay, you're gonna start selling these.
Of
Okay,
course.
we're
Yeah,
gonna put the links on my descriptions and
yeah.
let people have at it. Okay. All
Okay.
right. Is there anything else you want to talk about? I got a few more subjects to talk about
Yeah,
here.
just thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
just
right.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. All right. Excellent. Now, what I plan to do, like I said, I got a bags full of cartridges. So I'm going to take some, say, a black cartridge and or gray, whatever, and then go upstairs to the sink and perform the operation with just plain water and just to see. That should work because it will look like I'm filling it because once it hits that black ink, it's going to look like ink. It's so strong anyway. And so we'll proceed with the process. Once I get it nailed down where I can repeat over and over and over the process without any kind of mistakes or with a certain degree of regularity, let's just say that's what I'm looking for. Because with the old system, I was getting slight differences of levels on the liquid chamber. So we're looking for a pretty equal level in the liquid chamber, but without reaching the vent. But then again, even if you do, that can be handled by just allowing some of the ink. You can take the where to put it. You can take the where did I put that? Is it attached to this? Anyway, let's just use this. You can take a piece of paper towel, fold it up, remove the clip, and blot the bottom. And eventually you will have a clear top. You see that? I remember one of these basically reached the top. And so there was some ink inside that vent region. And so as you can see, this was a plug. But I'm saying not one of these, but the ones that I refilled via vacuum. I had some ink on the top, and what I did was I just blotted it off, sucked away some of the ink out of the sponge with a paper towel, and then the level dropped, and I was nice and clean on the vent. So it's not catastrophic. You just have to be careful that you catch it, okay, before you go ahead and install them. All right, so resetting ink counters. So should we talk to you guys next? Wait a minute, let me see. Let's see who else has been adding stuff to the chat. Let me take a good look. Okay, so I think Emmanuel was the last, next to the last. So he's from France, Normandy, France, that beautiful region. A Pro 300 refilling, migrating to Ink Owl in QMH1, I1, Color Monkey, doing printing scan from my slides and negatives from 50 years. Awesome. Yes. That's what I've been having fun with, and not so old, but I've been doing some photo scans from old prints as well, trying to restore some of these historic images of our family, but mostly from my negatives that I shot when we were in Belgium and Europe. Lee Roberts, He says, what I mean is, am I able to buy ink for my 15,000 from Mike? Oh, you're in the UK. If I can, what do I have to do? The only option that I know is what is it, My USA, or let's take a look. Let's take a quick look at the Precision Colors homepage. And let's go ahead and go to Epson. Let me pop this over here. Sorry, I didn't know what you were getting at. So we'll go to 6-color printers and the 15,000. It talks about, what's available for ink. And then for ordering, let's go to bulk kits. We're going to just do just one single bottle, add it to cart. And yeah, fine, send anyway, whatever. All right, so let's see, USA or Canada. And I don't see him having any kind of a option for Europe yet. So it used to be, I think he may have changed this. So I'll have to ask him whether he has been updating, because I know that normally for other products he can ship to overseas by using a third-party provider. And I think it has to do with whether something is liquid or not. They have some restrictions here. Unless you're a big seller like Ink Owl, for instance, you can ship overseas, or I think Inkjet Mall, that type of company. But if not, just order it from the UK, from octoink.co.uk. They should have inks for the XP 15,000. Whether they match OEM or not, that's besides the point. I cannot answer that. Or they're close. Like Precision Colors is quite close, but again, I cannot answer how good those inks may be. Richard Bender, hello, my friend. Recovering from a computer crash today, having lost all my PS installations. Oh no! Then it's ranking time on my R3000. What is it? Re-inking time on my R3000, followed by ordering ink from PC to try them out for my future inking day. All right. Sorry to hear about that. It's happened to me, my friend. It has. And I have had to install the whole kit and caboodle. Let me show you what that looks like. So, Creative Cloud. I'm a subscriber. I need to be. So, I have all of these installed right now. All of those. So, I know. But I'm a big user, so I have to do that. Yeah, so you might have to. Here's what he explained to me, because remember, I just got this weird error, like it didn't trust the page. Certain portions of his website, he's not a web guy. Okay, that's the problem. He's not a web guy. He knows a little bit about it. He knows some enough. Apparently, some of the parts of the website are being handled by a different server or whatever, a different provider, and he's getting that. So normally, here's what you would get. You would get international customers are encouraged to explore international forwarding services from the USA. Examples include My US and Skybox and others. Not cheap. Okay, it is not cheap. That's for sure. So again, just go to the UK sources. It'll be a lot easier, and you still be able to print. All you got to do is profile. And if you're not getting an absolute match, profile, and then you should get very close. even using non-PC inks. It's not that big a deal. Donald Wingate says, for Rudy, looking forward to your holder for Canon Pro 10. That's because this idiot right here has not sent him a Canon Pro 10 cartridge yet. So I need to do that. And I need to do that pronto. So Michael McLean. So with Rudy's system, do you need a fill tube for each color? No, you would just rinse it out. Just rinse it out. That's the only catch. That's the only catch. Rinse it out and dry it as well as you can. Otherwise, sure, you would need a different one for each color. And again, this is a component that he can put together. It's not necessarily, it's really just a syringe with a cap, a one-way valve. So maybe he can provide you with one for each color. Let's just say. Again, this is not 3D printed, so you can possibly, discuss that with him. That'd be a good idea, Rudy, if you can sell those individually as well. You may have to make a kit with, say, 8 of those, simply put, so that people can rinse them out and not have to worry about minute amounts of contamination between colors. Jerry says, on Rudy's vacuum system, what is involved for cleanup after each cartridge? Yeah, we didn't talk about, did we? Yeah. Yeah. Again, a good cleansing type process. So I used to do this, and maybe that was harming my syringes as well. But remember, the vacuum syringe is not exposed to anything, so no worries there. But your tube that you fill with ink, the syringe portion that you fill with ink, I would go ahead, especially with dye inks. Dye inks, they're more susceptible to fungal spores. And so even though that the inks come with a biocide as part of the liquid portion of the ink itself, it contains a biocide. And yeah, there's a certain half-life to them. And so I would go ahead and prepare, like in our lab, whenever I did a lot of histologic staining. Basically, tissues are stained for pathologists to examine. I cut sections that are like 4 microns in thickness, and I stain those tissue sections with specific stains that have an affinity to specific cell structures. The drill. So I would clean everything with about 10% Clorox. Okay, very carefully, and then rinse it out in we used to use deionized water, but you can just buy distilled water and just give it a rinse and let them dry. You will not be refilling until weeks later anyway. So by that point, your internal surfaces should be nice and dry. Not this. Well, yeah, this. I'm sorry, I get into too confused there. So yeah, I don't know how that would affect the valve itself, but again, I would make sure that everything is kept nice and spanky clean. Heck, this is so attached right now that I can't even take it off. Here we go. Here we go. Wow, come on. It fits really tight, folks. All right, forget it. I'll do that later. But you get the drift. So I would say just a simple rinse. And that's the British version. His name is Martin. Very nice guy. I dealt with him in the printer knowledge forum. All right. So yeah, Rudy, if you're still with us, why don't you want to come back on for a minute and talk about the cleansing of the system? I would rather hear it from you than me trying to, put words in your mouth. So if you're still available, use the same link, come back in and join us. That would be fantastic. Yeah, that's the problem. And so if you ship within Europe, it'll be a lot lower cost, especially now that Europe is a whole union. So oh well, now let's see. Yeah, Rudy is back. Let me get him all set up here. So, Rudy, the question came up, and I know you've been watching. So, and here you said, okay, all right. So, say for instance, I add my magenta ink. Okay, I figure out what 15 ml is.
This is totally can
Is
fit
that a crack?
crack.
Yeah, is that a crack?
I don't think so.
Wait a minute.
Maybe on the shipping.
No, 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 no. Hang on. I see like yeah, that wasn't there before. Is this polycarbonate or
I don't know. That is the similar, the same syringe that I sent you before.
okay?
So if there is
That's
crack,
weird.
you can use the other.
Let me. Oh, look at. Check it out.
No, this is for pull, not for push. Push
I
doesn't
know, but
affect.
I'm creating. I am plugging the end.
If you cannot push
I'm trying
air
to.
in, only
Rudy.
vacuum.
Well, the air has to be going someplace.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, if you push, the air go out from the valve, the black valve.
Oh boy, that was not there before. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, I don't see that. So
Yeah,
you
right
have
there,
to.
right there, right there on the base, right there.
Hmm,
Yeah, that's a crack.
okay,
That's a
maybe.
crack.
Yeah, you can use the old one before you put on the trace on
Oh,
the
how do I
trace.
remove this?
There is a four a bolt. You can unlock it easy, and then you
Okay,
can
so
close it again.
what kind of fitting is that?
That is a M3
Okay, that's hex
M3.
key, hex key, right?
Yeah, hex
Yeah,
key
okay.
M3.
All right, yeah.
Easy.
Okay. So the question, of course, was revolving around cleaning.
Yeah.
So cleaning these would involve what? Because I'm going to load magenta and then maybe I want to load yellow. So how do I clean this?
Yeah, that is a very good questions. Normally we can put water or and then we suck it out with the other the vacuum one. You go to the other side
Hmm.
uh, and then wash it. But I suggest to prepare one of the vacuum chamber for each color, so you don't have to make it to mesh it with other or
Yeah,
to contaminate one and each other. So you need to have 8 of that. I will prepare for that
right. Yeah. Okay.
as Michael
That would
suggestion.
be probably the easiest way to do this.
Yeah,
Just like when you buy a refill kit from some providers, they give you 8 syringes. They
yeah,
give you 9 syringes or whatever.
yeah. And
So
you can
I will take this apart
yeah.
and then maybe I can the one that I threw out. So this is a
Yeah.
different. No, one suggestion for you.
Yeah,
This is some of these syringes are polycarbonate and they're very fragile.
yeah.
And then you have what's the
The nylon.
well, they're not nylon. They're just a flexible type of rubber
Mm,
style. We used to use those in the lab.
okay.
Um, I'm trying to come up with the name, especially
Pol, pol,
for
polyethylene.
centrifuging, especially for centrifuging cells if you're going to be creating a very high RPM,
Yeah.
then you would not use polycarbonate because it would just explode inside the centrifuge.
Mm.
Too much centrifugal force
Yeah.
involved. So oh man, now I can't remember the plastic.
Polyethylene.
Poly something ethylene.
Polyethylene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
PET. PET.
yeah. So like the plunger, you see how the plunger is made out of a
Yeah.
different, yeah.
It's more
So
flexible.
I'm gonna install this. Where does this go? In here.
Ah, there is a seat there. I prepare a
Okay.
seat.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and a seal.
Okay. So I will replace that with this.
It's a fun to
Yeah.
open that and to see what's
This
inside.
is flexible.
Ah, that's much better.
You might want to look at
Yeah,
different brand. All right.
I'll
Anyway,
yeah.
so that answers that. So you're gonna have, my question was, is Rudy gonna make available extra units?
Yeah.
But they
So
would require, I mean, I would have to buy from you this complete unit,
yeah.
8 of them.
So so I will prepare eight
Okay.
vacuum chamber, and you can use the vacuum chamber as the storage also for the excess
Okay.
ink. So
Okay.
you don't have to unload it. So you just put add the ink to the vacuum chamber. So it
Okay.
make it simple, because
Okay.
I also provide the plug on the
Okay.
both side.
All right. I think that's been answered. So again, it's still a work in progress. I will have to play with it and test it. And if I have anything to suggest, I'll come up with it.
Oh,
And
thank you so much. Yeah, you
we'll
give a
we'll
lot of
perfect. Yeah,
inspiration.
yeah. The goal is to perfect this product so that it
Yeah,
becomes the number one product for this type of process
I hope so.
available. Yeah. All right. Thank you again, man.
Thank you, Jose.
All righty. So yeah, there's, like I said, a work in progress. I just discovered this crack. It looks like a crack. I don't know if it's really a crack. I would have to test it with actual liquid in it. But again, my experience working in the lab is that the type of plastic involved. So these might be lower in cost and possibly the reason why he's using them. So let me put this aside. Gosh, I'm trying to take this off. Good Lord. It's like it's welded on now. It's coming loose. It's coming loose. I wouldn't want that to be a permanent attached unit. Anyway, that's fine. We'll deal with that after the broadcast. So let's go ahead and talk about the resetting. So some of you, I noticed by your input here in the chat that you have older Epson printers like a R2400, for instance, or R2800, even the 2200. Some of you folks still have those. And so at some point, after using these printers over and over and over, and possibly because of clogs that you develop running cleaning cycles, the internal paths become full of ink. The counters reach a certain point, and it literally locks your printer up. You cannot print any longer. It just says stop. Your parts have reached the end of their life. Imagine that popping up and scaring the what out of you. So what do? Well, you just reset the counter. And secondarily, you have to, at that point, come up with a way to just divert that ink someplace else. So it's no longer being dumped internally. Now, what I do is when I buy printers, I disregard the warranty and I immediately install an external ink bottle. So on anything from like the R3000, the 600, the P600, the P400, the 2000, 1900, 2800, 2880. I mean, not 2800, 2880, 2400, all of those printers that have cartridges that write on the printhead, they use internal ink pads. This one does not. The XP 15000. The reason being is those cartridges basically it's a different situation. Sure, they write on the printhead, but they're sideways. They're located sideways. So it's a weird situation. And because of that, I think they decided to install a user replaceable ink box. Where did I put that? Back here on the side. Where are you, baby? Right here. So this little puppy will collect ink that you generate, waste ink, and it's only like $9. So again, any other printer would be rendered useless, would be rendered as, the end of its life. All because its diaper needs to be changed. Okay, simple as that. So because that one I can change by hand, there's no resetting for that. But the R2000 there is. Now you have two options. Let me move this over here. You have the original option. Okay. Oh, there was a Russian hacking tool back in the day that was pretty good for all of those early printers, such as the 1400, the R300 series, the 280, all of those ancient printers. I have a 340 way back in the corner over there. Okay, and that one can be reset. But the newer models, if they have a cartridge you can exchange, there's no need to create a resetter for it because you just reset the whole system by simply replacing the waste ink box. Let me go ahead and jump over to my folder of printer adjustment programs. I'll pop that over there. And like I said, this is kind of an underworld type subject, okay? Because these items are only accessible to so-called service technicians. Here they are. And so I have available for me a wick reset tool, the SS Serve EXC, that's the oldest one. That's only for really ancient printers. The R3000, 2400, 2000, 1900, 340, 3800, Artisan 725. I got two of those, I don't know why. Stylus 1900, R2000 I have open. The 390, which will work on mine as well. The 725 adjustment program and the 3800. Okay, let's go ahead and open the one that that person was having problems with. So we'll open it, and this is what comes with my disk that you order from me. You'll have this. It's in a RAR file because on purpose. Not only is it on a disk, so it will not be tampered by your antiviral software, which thinks it's a bad entity. Okay. We explained that why already. So let's go ahead and basically, look at what you get. So extra instructions for, remember, Windows Vista and 7 and all of that. So there are some instructions. If for whatever the reason you're still on one of those older OS, a document, a Word document here with images of what you are to expect during the process and what you click on. So when you open this, and you have to open it as an administrator, you will reach this, then this, then this, and then this. So let's go ahead and actually manually do that. So I have already opened the engineer's utility. I have it right here. What'll happen the minute you open this, that file will be declared bad, and it will be kept inactive until you allow it to live within your system. So let's right click. And remember, this is only for Windows. Run as administrator. And on my main monitor, it will come up. Let me move this over there. We'll go ahead and close this. And we're going to accept. And then I'm going to do this with the wick tool. And this is what you get. Now, if you are a technician working in a repair shop and you want to reset everything on that printer you're working on, you did a major repair job, you're going to click on this, and it's going to be a sequential set of steps that you're going to be doing, and that's going to reset your motherboard, all of that stuff. Okay, we don't have to deal with that. We just want to do our wasting cartridges, our wasting pads, that is. Click on particular adjustment mode, and you're going to get this, and then we're going to look for, see what I mean, all of that is available. Many things that you really should not be dealing with unless you're a technician. Waste ink pad counter. You can do an ink recharge, as you can see right there. If I need to really run a super cleaning cycle, that will actually recharge the whole ink system. We don't want to do that. So, okay. We're going to tick on each of the counters and check. And I'm at 0 because I just reset this last night. Okay. And I haven't used the printer at all. So it would have read a number and it would give me a percentage amount of, let's just say your pads have this much ink in them. So if it's like, say, 90%, you would want to not only divert the ink, output. About time you do that, right? You would want to do that at this point. Maybe earlier would have been nicer. But you go ahead and you look and you decide, do I want to continue? Well, this is basically unlimited. You can reset as many times as you want. So you would go ahead and click on that. You would read an amount and you want to reset it to 0. I collect my ink externally anyway, so no problem. Click on initialization. You will proceed to do the job, and then it will ask you to reboot your printer, not the computer. And then you repeat by checking the pads again. Check, and at that point you would then get a 0, like I have here. So I just did a video. It's going to be out tomorrow showing you how to do that. Now, if you have the Wick Reset tool, which is even simpler, I'll show you what that looks like. Let me go ahead and find it. On my desktop. All right, this is the original Wick Reset tool. Then we will do the inkchip.net tool. Now for these, you have to pay per reset, and it's $10 per reset. So say you've been printing for 3-4 years and you reach that point where your waste ink count has reached its max almost. For $10 you can fix it. Now, of course, I would recommend you really consider diverting your waste ink production outside of the printer so you don't continue to flood those pads. All right, so we're going to find our printer. There it is. It's only going to allow you to do this on Epson printers that can be reset. Click on that. And again, read waste ink counters. They're at 0. Normally they would be at a high point, and that would be it. Then you go ahead and you do the reset waste ink counters. It's going to ask you for a serial number that you then enter, and that's it. Proceed just like you did with the previous item. Now let's go ahead and do ink chip. Now, if you notice, maybe you did or maybe you didn't, there was an ability to do a ink recharge for free. Okay. This is Inkchip's version of it. A lot simpler, right? You pay the same amount of money. Waste ink counters, R2000. What else do I have plugged in? Nothing else. Read, 0. Okay, fine. You get out of that, reset. You would enter your serial number there that you purchased, hit OK, done. That would be it. And then you can verify by rereading your ink counters. That's how simple Inkchip is. That's the one you should consider heavily paying just $10 and getting that key. And I have an affiliate link for a discounted price on those. So again, it sounds like I'm pushing it, but really, as you saw, it's a lot simpler. Super simple. I think it's like 3 steps. All righty. Let's go back to good old me. So that's one way to handle the end of your life. I have thrown away early on my career printers because they reached the end of their life, and I could have easily reset them had I known how to do it. All right, now, uh, Pro 1000. Let's talk about this. We got about 25 more minutes anyway. So, Pro 1000 things to watch out for when you choose to refill and also use the ink level sensing system. Okay. So, remember, and I don't have any graphics prepared, but if you recall, when you install these sensors, you attach them to the cartridge. Okay. They protrude about that much. You can no longer close your lid. Now, that lid on untampered cartridges, you can only print when the lid is closed. When you close the lid on the left hinge, there's two hinges. On the left hinge of your printer, as you look at it from the front, there is a sensor hidden in there. And there's a tab on your lid that actually goes inside that little slit and covers up the sensor. It's optical. So once it covers up the sensor, your screen goes to print mode. Okay. So if you were to open the door, the screen goes into what? Into cartridge change mode. Why? Because you uncover the sensor by opening the door. So when you have the ink level sensor system installed, the door is always open. You have 12 cables that are about quarter-inch diameter, maybe less, but you know what I mean. There's 12 cables being, at least fed to the sides, six to the left and six to the right. Stand up, sit down, 555. Oh, forget it. Anyway, you can't close the lid. It's always open. It's always going to be open. So the printer has to be fooled into allowing you to print by blocking that sensor. So we make a little strip of cardboard and you insert it in that slot. And once it blocks the sensor, your screen goes into printing mode. Without the little fooler, it thinks it's in cartridge change mode. So here comes the nitty gritty and what you should avoid at all costs because it's very tempting to do so. Just because your door is open and you reach a point where you have to change one of those cartridges and fill it, or not change, but push it in, pull it out, and fill it, top it off, because your light came on. That means you need to add about 60 ml of ink. It's easy to just simply forget about removing that little fooler, and you push it in and take it out. Think about this. How in the heck could you have pulled that off if the door had been closed, right? As it thinks it is. See, until you pull that little fooler out, the printer thinks that the door is closed. Like I said on my video, you can watch later, my very last video yesterday. You would need a matter transporter beam, like on Star Trek, to pass that cartridge through the door onto your hands for you to refill it. The only way is for you to open the door. But the door is always open. But the printer thinks that it is closed. So please, please, please remember, any of you who are doing this, never be tempted to remove a card, even though it's accessible. It's right in front of you. Push it in, pull it out. Yeah, it's easy. But don't forget to remove that little sensor fooler. Okay. And that will then put your screen in cartridge change mode. Okay. That may cause problems if you set up your printer ink level sensor system before, say, some of those cartridges were actually modified for refilling. They had maybe half ink in them. Okay. And you still are showing levels. You just want to set this up. And now the door is open, cartridge reach empty, and you take it out without first unfooling or fooling the sensor. Okay. It's being fooled at all times, by the way. So don't do that. Do not ever remove a cartridge, whether it still has a lot of level on the chip or not, until you remove that fooler, that sensor fooler. Okay, do that. Make believe that you actually have to physically open the door. The way you're doing it now is by removing the sensor fooler. I keep repeating that. It's very, very important. Okay. On big printers, another set of big printers like P800, like the 3880, 3800s, they used to sell some refillable cartridges that were not identical to the originals. You see how they're the same size. When I put these refillables in, I can actually close the door. Okay. So the printer operates as normal. The door is closed. I am in printing mode. I look at all my chips, I recognize them, I accept them, and I then proceed to allow you to print. What if I have a cartridge that's bigger out to here? They made some cartridges that were like twice the volume. Okay. They protrude. You cannot close the lid. So you needed a sensor fooler. So these companies made these little plastic devices you insert in a certain location, and the printer now thinks that you close the door, the lid. It's impossible to close the lid. You got 9 of these suckers sticking out. Okay. So yeah, the same thing applies there. Do not remove a cartridge until you fool the printer into thinking you're physically opening the door, even though the door is always open. You see, the same thing with the Pro 1000. The problem with those older systems is that P800s, and they have them for the P800 for European versions, because you can use refillable cartridges in Europe, not in the US, unless you have a chipless firmware. So what they would do and what people would encounter is this. And they don't tell you this, okay? They're not about to tell you this. You may have 220 ml cartridge, big sucker, about that far out, and a chip. But here's the catch: the chip is only calibrated for 80 ml of ink. So who cares if you have 220 ml? When you reach empty, you've used up about 80 ml of ink. Yeah, you still have ink inside the cartridge. You need to pull it out, pull it back in to reset the chip to full. You better start keeping track, or you're going to end up having to top off the cartridge, because at some point it's just not going to match. Okay, you're going to reach empty either before or after the cart is actually physically empty, and then you got air in your system, and it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So P800 people that think, oh, I can get away with a 220 ml cartridge and I will not have to refill forever. No, you will have to refill at the same rate as before, because the chips only read 80 ml. Okay, they can only not read, but you know what I mean. The printer can guess when 80 ml has passed through it, and then it will zap the chip as empty. But you still have 80, 220 minus 80, whatever that is. You see what I mean? So you still have ink. It's really dumb. And then the most important thing is that these have an ink bag, and that ink bag lives inside a sealed space. That space outside the ink bag is pressurized via that little port right there. See the little thing sticking out right there? That pressurizes that little space inside that ink bag. It only requires a small amount of pressurization. Small amount. Keep that in mind. So the pump only has to develop a certain amount of pressure to keep that bag pressurized at the correct level so that it can deliver ink. Refillable cartridges have a huge space inside. Okay. No bag. It has to pressurize the whole internal. As your levels go down, the whole internal space that has nothing but air has to be kept pressurized. The pump has to work harder to be able to maintain the proper pressure. Let's multiply this times 3. You cannot keep those gigantic cartridges pressurized with the pump that these printers come with. That pump is meant for a smaller space, not a gigantic warehouse of air, especially if you let those cartridges go to a low level of actual ink. So the advantages of a 220 ml cartridges are down the toilet, because really, to maintain the proper operating conditions, you have to constantly refill them to at least have just enough space that the pump can keep pressurized. Now, people disagree with me. I don't care. It's a fact. The pumps on these printers are meant to pressurize a certain space, not a warehouse. Okay? Keep that in mind. Now, let me delete that one. People some people, I got some comments from, were concerned about what's the point of having this ink level sensor system? What if I have a cartridge that I have not, drilled out yet, and I have like half ink, and my chips are reporting that level on my driver? And what's the point? Well, it's just a backup. Okay, the sensor is actually sensing changes in density. It's not quite, but almost like sonar. Okay, sonar sends a signal out, it bounces back. What about basically it's sensing density? I think there's other systems. I'm not an engineer, so I cannot say what they are, but you know what I mean. So it's literally testing or sensing that there is liquid at a sufficient level to trigger me. Okay. Now, what they were concerned about is that it's redundant because you have chips. Well, I told you how the chips operate. They operate up to the point where the cartridge reaches low, and they then stay there. They stay there until the sensors inside the compartments internally in the printer begin to do their magic, and they ask for a refill because my level on that compartment dropped and your cartridge has run out of ink. It cannot deliver enough ink to touch that upper sensor. It zaps the chip as empty. That's it. You're now empty. So when that happens, it's because really the cartridge was empty. It could not deliver sufficient ink to then top off the internal compartment. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Okay. Hmm. Except that allows us to have our cake and eat it too. Like I said earlier, by refilling these cartridges before or during that period where there's still about, as soon as you hit that yellow warning, it's about, see, I say a different number every time because we really do not know. Every time I weigh one, it differs between like 13 grams from empty up to like 15 grams from empty. Okay. So somewhere around there. That's how much ink is left. And so then maybe by the next 2 or 3 internal compartment refills, I will have used that level of ink that I had at that point. Now, how much ink does it take to top off a internal compartment? No clue. I don't know. Whatever it takes. I would have to know when that is triggered. And of course, you have no clue when that's triggered, to weigh before and after and then figure that out. But there's no way you can even know when that's taking place. When the final plunge, if you will, takes place and it says fill me, and say I need 5 ml of ink, just guessing, but I only have 2. in my cartridge, because before I had, I don't know, 8, and I was able to top off your compartment. That left me with 2. You think it's good to go because it reached the top sensor. Continue printing. It begins to drop. Trigger the bottom one again. Hey, give me a fill up, my friend. And it opens up the valve, and 1 ml flow in, 2 ml flows in, and no more. It's available. Zap the chip as empty. But if I had ink in it, I would be able to top that compartment back up. It would then touch the upper sensor. It would be happy. Continue low, wondering what the heck is going on, and allowing me to print. And that's what we are experiencing here. Now, whether that holds up, I always use the term, whether it holds water, that theory, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. So, anyway, now, how do you know? The second question was, how do you know if your sensor goes bad and your cartridge that you have set up goes empty at some point, because you get no indication that your cartridge never reached that 25% from empty level because the sensor's not working? Well, it's kind of impossible for that to happen. And the reason being, and again, I have to go back and touch on the complaints from some people where they were complaining that why do you need lights on the sensors themselves, and why do you need a board telling me that cartridge number 8 needs to be refilled because it lit up? Why don't I just look at my sensor lights? Why would you want to do that? First of all, your lid is open, you're printing, you can't really see yourself unless you do this. So the indicators on the boards, those LEDs, serve 2 purposes. They tell you when you need to add ink, and they verify that the sensor is working. Because when the cartridge does not need ink, the sensor lights are all on. So my 12 cartridges, all 12 sensor lights are on. On my boards, all 12 sensor LED warning lights are off. They cannot be both off. They cannot be both on. Impossible. If that ever happens, okay, if one of my lights on my sensor is off, I know immediately the sensor is bad. Okay. And I will be able to see that because when I get done printing, I close my lid and I can see. If all of them are on and all of these are off, everything is fine. I have enough ink in all my cartridges. Okay. If number 5 is off on the sensor, when I close the lid, number 5 is off, and number 5 light on my left board is on, I need to add ink. If my light is on my board, but the sensor light is also on, I got a bad sensor. You see what I mean? They cannot be both on and they cannot be both off. I don't see any other way to explain this and make it make sense to you. So will I be fooled by the sensors into possibly having a catastrophic, problem where I literally run out of ink internally in the printer and also externally? I don't think that's going to happen. Okay. The sensors will save my hide because, again, both lights cannot be on and both lights cannot be off at the same time. It's either or. And if it ever happens, then I immediately exchange that sensor. I stop printing. No more printing until I get a new sensor, period. That's the way it's going to be. So I love it. I think it's going to be a great, piece of equipment. And dealing back with Rudy's item, that's going to work out as well once I get all the kinks worked out and I, familiarize myself with the process. Again, just like I did originally, and I was able to fill all 8 without any problem at all. So we'll see. Okay, let me see anyone else here that's maybe. Oh, excuse me, I'm burping Pepsi. Good Lord, what a pig. I'm going to go ahead and get my see you next week graphic ready. Let's see. So Jacques Suave. But then on the second day of use, had to overcome some weird window behaviors. What are you talking about? I don't think I remember you being here. No. Is this your first comment here, Jacques? Please explain if you're still with us what you meant, okay? We'll be able to address it before we say goodbye. Hmm. Oh, here we go. The lightness quirk on them is that to empty the recycle folder, had to enter my email and password, so I did. Strange, but worked fine. Oh, you mean, oh, you were ordering something? Is this pertaining to Precision Colors website? Hmm. Yeah, he discussed that with me a while ago, and he said he was working on it, but it would be a while till he solves everything. He's going to have to go back and check all of his coding. See, he's using the old-fashioned HTML coding or whatever it was called. Yeah, I just use an application that does it all for me. I don't have to deal with coding. So anyway, Frank Collins says, just a note on Canon P200 using Rick Johnson's card, CLI 65 chips installed. Now I have two sets of cards, no individual refilling now. Just replace all the cards when they need to refill. So what are you doing? How do you know that they need to be refilled? Are they using transparent cartridges with CLI 65 chips? I would assume that's what you're doing. Otherwise, you have to kind of do things by routine, like every 3 weeks or every month, replace everything if you're using the opaque cartridges, which apparently can be refilled with this process as well. Any differences in resulting printed output using Canon XPS driver versus QImage? None at all. You don't need to do that. With QImage always outputs at 16 bit interpolated from 8-bit. Windows does that. Windows will take a 16-bit image and output it at 8-bit, so it will downscale it, and then your XPS driver will fake it again. And basically, QImage does a better job anyway. It does a better job. I have seen like photomicrographic shots of images, and yeah, it's better. It does a much better job regardless. All righty. Boy, this was a lot of fun. And I got some work to do after the live stream. So let me just say thank you all for coming by again. I don't know what's going to happen next week. Again, considering my wife's recovery seems to be moving on, maybe we'll be going out a couple of places, but I should be here next week at the same time, same channel, if you will. So hopefully we'll have another fun time with you guys. We're down to 33 people. That's not bad. And so, again, until next time, happy printing, everybody. And we'll see you next week. Please say goodbye and thank you if you wish to do so on the chat. Thank you.